Hey, what's up everybody? Benji Bruce here, and we're gonna go over this, right? If you only have 1 hour in a day to work on your business, to market yourself, what should you do? How are you gonna use that hour to grow?
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue, it is something you are.
All right, so if you only have 1 hour in a day to grow, to market your business, what exactly do you do? Well, first things first is you figure out what's called a North Star metric. A North Star metric is basically the number one thing that you need to focus on. It is the number one metric that determines your growth. That's what a North Star metric is. It's like, okay, you look up for the North Star and it's like the one thing that you focus on, right? That's what your North Star metric is. For Facebook, right? In the beginning times of Facebook, their North Star metric was active monthly users. It was just how many people are actively using Facebook every month. Then as they grew, it became active daily users. But basically the North Star metric is if you could only do one thing to grow your business, what would it be? And when you figure out that North Star metric, you focus on it, right? So like in the case of Facebook, when he said active monthly users and then active daily users, Mark Zuckerberg ignored advertising. So everyone said, look, Mark, you got to freaking make money with this thing. We got to put some advertisement on this. When people come to Facebook, we need to show them a freaking big ad. And Mark Zuckerberg, he was like, nope, forget that. We are focused on monthly active users, then monthly daily users. He said, forget all that stuff, right? That's what you're doing. And so you have to think, what's your North Star metric? What's that one thing that's going to actually grow, right? So in the beginning, let's say you're doing content marketing, you're creating a lot of content. Well, in the beginning, your North Star metric is going to be email subscribers. So it's all about building up your subscriber base. That's your North Star metric. You do not want to say something like, oh, it's about building a following. That is not a North Star metric. That's like an idea. Building a following, it's like, okay, building a following on Instagram, YouTube, email subscribers. Where do you want to build a following? So you have to get specific. You say, I'm going to build up the email subscribers. That's going to be my North Star metric. Then you figure out the activity that goes with that North Star metric. So the activity of the email subscribers is like Facebook ads or Google ads, whatever you're best at, whatever works best for your business, right? So you figure out, here's the North Star metric, then I'm going to do Facebook ads, or the North Star metric is email subscribers and Facebook ads. In terms of like prospecting, right? You say, okay, my North Star metric with reaching out to people, to getting business and reaching out, my North Star metric is the number of meetings booked, right? So you're contacting people and it always comes down to the number of meetings booked, the number of opportunities you create. And so that's your North Star metric. Well, what's the activity that's correlated with that? The activity is maybe send out cold emails or cold calls, whichever one you want to do. Cold emails better, by the way. But basically you say, here's my North Star metric is the number of meetings booked, and then the North Star activity is cold call or cold email, whichever one is best for you. Now you want to ask yourself, so you only have 1 hour in a day, right? So first thing, you figure out the North Star metric, and then you relate the activity to that North Star metric. Now you want to ask yourself, can you afford to hire somebody? So if you have the money to hire somebody to do this North Star metric, great. I mean, you can hire somebody, you say, hey, focus on this thing, right? So email subscribers, focus on Facebook ads. I want you to create Facebook ads, make sure they're working, make sure they're getting a lot of subscribers. If your North Star metric is numbers of meetings booked, you say to this person, hey, I want you to focus on actually cold emailing people and getting the meetings booked, getting the meetings on the calendar. That's what you're focused on, or that's what you have them focused on. If you can't afford to hire somebody, you're screwed. No, I'm just kidding. If you can't afford to hire somebody, it really just comes down to it's now going to take you longer to accomplish the result. That's just physics, really. I mean, if you can only spend 1 hour in a day and another person can spend 10 hours a day, they're going to get there a lot faster. So if you can only spend 1 hour in a day, you're only going to spend this 1 hour doing this North Star metric. So you're going to say, All I'm going to do is just cold email people during 1 hour. That's the only thing you're going to do. You're not going to do anything else. You're not going to work on your business card. You're not going to go on Facebook. You're not going to text people. The only thing you're going to do is just focus on this one North Star metric for the 1 hour. So that's if you can't hire somebody. You always want to think along the lines of this quote from Miyamoto Musashi from the Book of Five Rings. He says, "Do nothing which is of no use." It's a pretty good quote. Do nothing which is of no use. This is basically the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, where look up the 80-20 rule. I don't feel like explaining it, but basically do nothing which is of no use, like literally. And so once you figure out what's the main thing that I need to get done, you do nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. I remember in the beginning when I was building up my business, right? Like an idiot, I was doing a lot of activity, but I wasn't actually focused on the things that produce the money. So I was focused on creating a business card, and I was focused on little things like that. I was like, oh, I got to do business cards. I went to network meetups, right? I go to these network meetups, and I try to meet people and try to get gigs and all this stuff. Basically, it was useless. I mean, it was really useless, right? So if I had to go back and if I had to repeat everything, repeat the process in terms of building up my business and building up my entertainment business, what would I do to rebuild it from scratch? I would focus on one thing: prospecting, cold emailing. That's the only thing. I wouldn't go out to meetups. I wouldn't sit there and work on my business card. Nothing. I would literally sit down all day, every day and say, let me just send out emails. Bam, 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 bam. That's all I would do, right? But once you get to a point where you now have a team, so let's say you got a team, you can hire people. Well, now the bigger the team, the more specific you can get in terms of the North Star metrics, right? So basically, you can say my North Star metric is numbers of meetings booked. So I got to get meetings booked on the calendar, right? Now, if you have a bigger team, you can now get more specific about that metric. You can now say, all right, one person is going to be a prospector. All this person's going to do is just build up a list of leads. The other 3 people, all they're going to do is just contact this list. They're just going to send out emails and make calls. That's all they're going to do. The bigger the team, the more specific you can get and the more you can break down this North Star metric. But basically, if you are strapped for time, if you only have 1 hour in a day to actually get things done for your business, you have to get really focused. That's what it comes down to. If you have 1 hour in a day and that's all, you just figure out what's the one thing that I need to get done, the one thing that is the most important thing, my North Star metric, what's the one activity that is extremely correlated to that North Star metric, and then you focus on that one thing, that one metric, that one activity. That's what you do if you only have 1 hour to actually get things done.